It's a very good morning to the Gelding. Gelding, the pre-match discussion nearly took longer than the show this morning.
Good morning, Professor. Good morning, listeners. Yeah, a lot to talk about. A big week in racing.
It has, and can we just make a plea to those viewers who seem to want to call us at just before 10 o'clock to get the tips or whatever they want. Don't call us while we're doing the show.
Families, Professor.
Oh, yes, Gelding. Yes. Oh, well, Gelding, let's go back to Oaks Day. What might have been 2 seconds, a third, and, well, let's just say a questionable ride.
A willow. Have we been willowed this week?
Oh, well, some might say.
Hey?
Some might say.
And look, Professor, without getting onto my jockey bashing, but that ride, which at best can be described as odd, and I'm
lost
being
the
nice
compass,
when
Gelding.
I just say odd. Just for people, we're on what was the name of the horse? Just escapes the mind at the moment, but
Saban,
trained by Peter Moody. Craig Williams took off at the 900 metre mark to make its run for the winning post.
It's a long way from home, Gelding.
And at the 400 metre mark, the flag went up, and I said, I've done me 400 metre sprint here. What the hell's going on? You still want me to keep going? And
it didn't.
And it tailed off to be last, Professor. So best to be described as probably a brain fade. But anyway, look, that's racing. But it was very costly for our place parlay, Professor, which would have paid nicely with the others. So,
well,
yeah,
we got after a great start with recommendations. Paid $2.20 for running third. Now, that's because of the quality of horses that were in the race.
Exactly, Professor. Exactly.
All right, there's a 9-race card. Only 9, Gelding. Remember, we forecast that there might be 10 to date. No, only 9 races on Champions Day. You can only have so many $3 million races in a race card, Gelding.
Oh, Professor, question without notice to you. 3 $3 million races. A couple of races worth $500,000. And all that. So close to $10 million being offered by the VRC today. Does this become, and you have a look at the fields in those $3 million races, Professor, does this become Victoria's best race day? And tell me a horse in Australia in the top 10 that's not running today at Flemington.
You make good points there, Gelding. And what I might say is that if you gave that thought process to a lawyer, they would say arguably the best day of racing in Victoria for the year.
Yep. Look, taken over from Derby Day is probably the best day of the carnival, Professor, and it's Caulfield Guineas Day is a good day, Cox Plate Day is a good day, but I would have to say that this is fast becoming our best day and could challenge for any possibly being the best day racing in Australia.
Yes, Gelding, I certainly agree with you there. Okay, so as I said, 9-race card at Flemington. The first's at 12:40 p.m, so plenty of time to get down if we've got a bet in the first race. And the last is at 5:50, so we're out before the news, Gelding.
Well, Professor, it's normally my turn to put the bets on, so this normally means that you're having a bet in the first.
No, not today, Gelding.
No, not today.
Not today. All right, so there are 3 feature races, Gelding. There's the Champion Mile, there's the Champion Stakes, and there's the Champion Sprint races 6, 7 and 8 on the program, so plenty to look forward to. The tracks are good for the rails out 8 metres, Gelding. So first day of the carnival, the rail's in the true position. Second day of the carnival, it's out 2 metres. Third day of the carnival, it's out 5. Now it's out 8. What are your thoughts on how the track will run today?
Oh, excuse me, Professor. Look, beautiful day outside. A bit of a southerly wind is tipped, Professor. There's certainly no wind around Caulfield area at the moment, but let's see how it develops. Look, with the rail out 8 metres, if there's a southerly wind, Professor, that'll be it's a good 4, but with no rain or anything, or if they haven't watered too much without seeing the first couple of races, if it gets towards a good 3, Professor, with it out 8 metres and with a bit of a wind, it might race very similar to Cup Day. If you notice on Cup Day, it was very hard, apart with the exception of the Cup. Not many horses made ground from the rear, Professor. It was certainly advantage to be on pace. So hoping for a fair day of racing, Professor, because some of my picks sit kind of midfield and will be running home. But look, again, the normal watch will be on the pattern of racing in the first couple of races, Professor. But I'll just give our listeners a chance to look forward to looking for horses kind of on the pace and just be a bit wary of horses giving too much start coming into the home straight and whether they can make up the ground.
All right, Gelding, what are your 2 best bets for Champions Day at Flemington today?
Well, Professor, look, having a look at some of these races, these main races, there's 6 to 7 chances in every race, Professor. So, you're getting fantastic odds. Here I'm going the sprint race first. Look, very hard to go past Bella Nipotina, winning the Everest and winning last week. But I am going to go past it. Only because it's recorded Flemington, Professor. If you have a look at Bella Nipotina, 10 starts at Flemington for no wins and a second, and 3/3, Professor. Horse has never been in better form, but I'm going to go to the horse that I thought was a bit stiff not to beat it in the Everest handicap, and that's Giga Kick, Professor, number 1. Clayton Douglas. Mark Zara keeps the ride. This was only beaten by a head in the Everest, Professor, and was flashing home. Sat 7th on the turn and really attacked the line just to go down by a head, Professor. Look, I think at $5, which we're getting, Professor, a good each way bet. This horse has got a fantastic chance. But, look, Professor, there's 8 other horses in that race. Overpass, Barracuda, you backed at Mooney Valley, which won brilliantly, and we said we wouldn't get off that ever again. Sunshine in Paris, second last week. Private Life won the Guineas. Bellatrix Star, won 3 of its last 4 and was just beaten the other day at Flemington, Professor. So every chance. But look, I like Giga Kick at round about the $5 and at each way odds, and hopefully can return to the winner's stall in the champion sprint. Then, Professor, I think the race of the day is race 7, where, geez, Professor, I reckon out of the 13 starters, I reckon 10 of them have got a chance. So I've left that one alone.
The odds aren't winning there, Gelding.
Oh, well, horses were back before, Professor. Mr. Brightside, Antino, Another Will, Pride of Jenny, Fangirl, Amelia's Jewel, Steffi, Magnetica, and Broadsiding. We've been on them all, Professor. So I've decided to leave that one alone. And then I've gone in the Champion Stakes, Professor. I know it's short, I know the cold will have a go at me, but it's $1.80 on the TAB at the moment. But our job here is to try to pick winners for the listeners. And, I like them in parlay bets. So I'm going race 8, horse 10, Via Sistina, Chris Waller, James McDonald, $1.80. Look, any horse that wins the Cox Plate by 8 lengths, Professor, beats an international with world-class form by 8 lengths. Broadsiding was 10 lengths behind it in third spot. Beat Winx's record over the 2,000 metres. How do you go past it? Even if it doesn't run to that form, Professor, runs below it, might still beat them by 4 lengths. So, Via Sistina, we've been on it all the way through. So, let's stick with it, and hopefully can bring our parlays home. Professor, and you like?
Yeah, Gelding, I'm going a little bit earlier than you. First race I'm having a selection is race 3, the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. It's a Group 3 over 2,600 metres. I like in this race, Gelding, horse number 1, the top weight, Serpentine, coming out of barrier 7. Had 31 starts for what I would suggest is a modest 5 wins and 5 placings, so 16% win rate, 32% place rate. Last run was 2 weeks ago, Gelding, in the Moonee Valley Cup, when it was beaten by the horse that ran third in the Melbourne Cup. And that horse that ran third in the Melbourne Cup looked like the winner at the 200.
Yeah.
Then that one's Okita Sushi.
Yeah.
I think Jamie Carr thought she had it in the bag and snatched away right at the end.
Well, I think she did, but I like her, Professor. Let me just remind you, that one of those 5 wins happened to be one of the iconic races in the world, the English Derby. So it's not bad backing an English Derby horse at Flemington, Professor.
No, you're right there, Gelding. I don't think it'll have any problems with the distance. It ran in the Group 1 Metropolitan at Randwick. So the connections certainly think it has the ability. And as you say, won a very, very, very important race. Trained by Gay Waterhouse and being ridden by James McDonald. So with that combination, Gelding, hopefully we'll be counting the dollars at the end of the race.
A Lord William's own horse at Flemington during the carnival, Professor. Very, very astute picking, I think, on your behalf.
All right, and my second selection's in race 4, the Always Welcome Stakes. That's a good name for a horse race, isn't it? Always welcome. You're always welcome.
I like it.
It's a listed race over 1,200 metres. I like in that one a horse we've been on before, Gelding, horse number 4, Ray Magnero, coming out of barrier 12, 15 starts for 6 wins and 6 placings. So it's only ever been out of the prize money on 3 occasions off 15 starts. So I'll take that form anytime, Gelding. 40% win rate, 80% place rate. It's been close in the placings the last 3 races, including seconds in the Group 2 Millennium Sprint and the Group 3 Rising Fast Stakes. That Rising Fast Stakes, Gelding, another 10 metres and it beats Mahaba.
Oh, Professor, we're on it. And, it wasn't much far off. It was charging.
It was. So I think it'll right that wrong today. Trained by Griffiths and de Kock. And Jai McNeil's in the saddle, so I like that. And you can get $4.20 and $1.75 at the moment, Gelding.
Oh, beautiful, Professor. I like them. So most of our tips are at good each way odds, Professor.
Yes, they are, Gelding. Just shows the calibre of horse racing field. That's why the odds are up. I would imagine you wouldn't get $5 for Giga Kick in many races that it's running.
Oh, well, fancy run second in a $20 million race. And you're getting each way odds.
Exactly, Gelding. So my 2 selections for today, race 3, horse 1, Serpentine, and race 4, horse 4, Ray Magnero. Now, the Professor's Parlay from Oaks Day, still alive.
Still alive.
Yep, recommendation came second, so a very good start to the Parlay of $2.20 going into the kitty for the other legs, Gelding.
Yes.
And listeners or viewers might remember that we parlayed that into the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers to beat the Tennessee Titans. Today's parlay, the agreed bet of the day, Gelding, race 8, horse 10, Via Sistina. For all the reasons you mentioned, anything that wins a horse race by the number of lengths it did, a Group 1 race, has got to be in good form. So we'll take that to the bank, and we'll also parlay that. I see no reason to change our selections in the other two legs of the parlay, Gelding. So we'll double down. Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Denver Broncos. Kansas City at home. They've got a great. They've won 8 from 8, Gelding. You can't do any better than that. That's a great start to the season. They always seem to be able to get home. Andy Reid as the coach, combined with Mahomes as quarterback and Kelsey as the tight end, they'll always seem to come up with something. So I think they'll be in front at the end, even if it's only by a field goal. It doesn't matter, Gelding.
No. Will they win for Tay?
Oh, who cares why they win as long as they win for us, Gelding. That's the main thing. And we'll parlay that into the Jim Harbaugh coached LA Chargers. He's turned that organisation around in just half a season, Gelding. I think I told you they've got the best defence in the league. They're letting in a paltry amount of points. I think they've only had 102 scored against them in 8 matches, Gelding. So it's hard to score against them. Tennessee Titans find it hard to score. So the LA Chargers at home. So the parlay, race 8, horse 10 Via Sistina, into the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Denver Broncos, into the LA Chargers to beat the Tennessee Titans.
I like it.
What
Professor.
A mouthful that was.
I like it. Yes, you did well.
All right, Gelding. Well, you're taking a break for family reasons next Saturday, so it'll just be me on my Pat Malone doing That's Racing. But what we also should tell the viewers is a much-loved Sportsfan radio show returns tomorrow at midday.
Looking forward to it, Professor. Will we have the normal crew?
Well, amazingly, seeing we haven't been on for so long, Gelding, everybody's available.
Oh, beautiful. Well, will I get a word in?
You might have to start early.
Can I be on air 5 minutes before the giraffe so I can get to say something?
Well, we're going to open the time capsule. Remember, he did prognosticate how the NRL ladder would finish up at the end of the season, end of the home and away season, and he did have his South Sydney Rabbitohs finishing fairly well. He'd be very upset with that.
Yes,
result.
Very upset. Yeah, and have you got any questions for the judge without notice for him?
Oh, there might be some questions about whether a good jockey on a horse alters where the horse will finish.
And do you think David from Mordialloc will be having some brown paper bags for us? Or?
No, but I'm sure he'll chime in about the Melbourne Football Club.
Oh no. Oh, will they be known as the Caulfield Football Club, sir?
I don't think so, Gelding. And Dan Butterley's back too, so that's really good news. Special guest Wayne Holsworth, who was one of the 4 finalists for the Victorian nominee for Australian of the Year. Of course, that was won by Neil Danaher last night, but Wayne Holsworth, with his work on youth suicide, was one of the nominations. So we'll have him on to talk about Unplugged 24 and how that went in October. Getting off social media for 24 hours, which can't be a bad thing for the youth of today, Gelding.
No, certainly not, Professor.
No, so it'll be a packed program and plenty to look forward to. So until